stand, please? Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may be seated.
Would you do me a favor and zip up, please? Thank you. Mr. Ridley?
Ms. Hannaman, can you state your first and your last name, please, for the record? Okay. Can you speak right into the microphone and can you use an outdoor voice so that we can hear you? So again, can you state your first and last name for the record?
Manda Hannaman.
And can you spell both of your names, please?
MandaHannaman.
Ms. Hannaman, how old are you?
19.
And Ms. Hannaman, do you know a person whose name is Daniel Tate Jr.?
Yeah.
Is that person here in the courtroom today?
Yeah.
For purposes of the record, could you point that person out and say what that person is wearing today?
A button-up shirt.
I indicated the defendant.
Ms. Hannaman, did you at some point have a sexual relationship with the defendant?
Yeah.
And about when was that, if you recall?
Back in 2013.
2013. And back in 2013, where did the defendant live when that sexual relationship was going on?
Either with his mom or his dad.
Okay. And at some point, did he live at your home?
Yeah.
When was that?
I couldn't tell you.
Was that before or after your sexual relationship with him?
During.
During? Okay. And during that sexual relationship, Ms. Hannaman, did the defendant ever put his hand or hands to your neck and in any way restrict the amount of air you were able to breathe?
Yeah.
And
I'm going to interrupt just a second. This is evidence admitted for the same purpose, and once again, I caution you, it is not to be used to conclude that the defendant is or has a bad character, trait of character, and for that reason is guilty of the charge now made against him. Any question about that? Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Ms. Hannaman, did that always occur during sexual acts?
No.
And so how would the defendant come to put his hands to your neck and restrict your air if it wasn't a sexual act?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah. When I asked you before, I said, was it always a part of sex? And you said no, it wasn't always part of sex. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what else was it if it wasn't part of sex?
If it wasn't part of sex, then it wasn't happening.
Understood. And how many times would you say that he put his hand on your neck and prevented you from breathing in any way?
I can't give a specific amount, but it wasn't often.
More than 10 or less than 10?
Less.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
I just want to clarify something because I got confused and maybe I'm not the only one. You testified that Mr. Tate did on occasion choke you, you said, right?
Yeah.
And did you say that that was only during sex?
No.
That occurred at some other time?
No. I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Okay. You indicated that Mr. Tate had choked you at some point, correct?
Outside of being sexual?
I guess you tell me, did he choke you at some point?
No.
So if Mr. Tate had ever choked you, it was only during times, it was only sexual, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember completing a written statement with the police on September 27th of 2017?
I can't remember.
Going to hand you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 58. I ask you to take a look at that, and then can you tell me what that is?
My written statement.
Your written statement, you said?
Yeah.
And what's the date of that written statement?
7/25/17.
Actually, I'm going to point your attention to the very left hand on the upper part of the statement where it says date of supplement. What's that date?
9/27/17.
So do you believe it was 9/27/17 that you completed that written statement, or would it have been 7/25/17?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to have you hold on to that. But in that written statement, did you indicate that Daniel Tate had ever choked you during sex?
Yeah.
Can you point to me where that is?
Oh. I guess it's not in here.
I'm sorry, you said, I guess it's not in here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can I take that back from you for a moment? Because actually what you said in your statement was, I did not allow Daniel Tate to choke me during sex, even though he had asked me if we could try it. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yeah.
So your statements today here in court are different than they were in that written statement September 27th of 2017, correct?
Correct.
Those are all of my questions.
Ms. Hannaman, why didn't you say that Daniel had choked you when you did that written statement back in September of?
I was nervous.
Okay. Were you afraid to tell?
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Any question?
No questions.
Thank you. You may step down.
Stipulation. Counsel, is it all right if I present the stipulation to the court?
That's sure.
Is that all right? Judge, we have a stipulation as to the physical evidence. With the court's permission, if the court adopts the stipulation, I'd like to be able to read that to the jury.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's been approved in the form you're going to read?
It has.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, these are stipulated. Your Honor, these are stipulated supplemental facts. The Wisconsin State Crime Lab processed Olivia McKay's vehicle, body, and garbage bags that were covering Olivia's body for biological and other evidence. State Crime Lab analysts returned the following results. A palm print of Jamari Cook was located on the rear view mirror of Olivia McKay's vehicle. A fingerprint of Daniel Tate was located on Olivia McKay's car warranty booklet that was located in the back seat of Olivia McKay's vehicle. Fingerprints from Jamari Cook were located on the garbage bag that was used to cover the lower portion of Olivia McKay's body. There was insufficient DNA recovered in the vehicle to do any DNA comparisons. And then finally, Judge, there was insufficient DNA on Olivia's body to do any DNA comparisons.
Thank you.
Does the court wish me to mark that or in some way have that available to the
I
jury?
think, yeah, if you would, please. Is that a correct statement of the stipulation?
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
When the parties agree or stipulate to something, that must be accepted as conclusively proved in the case. They'll not be permitted to call witnesses to prove any of those things because they're already acknowledged and admitted. And there'll be no evidence received to attack any of that information because it's agreed as being the fact. Any question about that? Okay, thank you.
And that would be, that's now a piece of evidence in the case, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state then calls Sarah Rantanen to the stand.
Stand, please. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Do you swear to tell the truth? Yes. You may be seated.
Ms. Rantanen, please speak right into the microphone, okay, and use your outdoor voice. It's hard to hear in here. Can you do that for me?
Yes.
Ms. Rantanen, can you state your first and your last name?
Sarah Rantanen.
And Ms. Rantanen, can you spell your first and your last name?
Sararantanen.
Ms. Rantanen, how old are you today?
18.
And do you know a person who is named Daniel Tate Jr.?
Yes.
Is that person here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
For purposes of the record, could you point that individual out and say what that person is wearing today?
Flannel, I think that's called.
Which, there are three people there.
The middle one.
Middle one, all right, pointing at the accused.
How do you know, Ms. Rantanen, how do you know the defendant?
I'm his ex.
When you say ex, you mean girlfriend?
Yeah.
And when were you boyfriend and girlfriend? During what period of time?
The middle of January of 2017.
Okay. And during the middle of January 2017, was that a relationship that was at sometimes a sexual relationship?
Yes.
And during that period of time, what, if anything, did the defendant express to you about his desire to choke a woman during sex?
He never did.
So he never said to you that he wanted to do that to any woman?
No, not to me.
Okay. I'm sorry, let me separate the question so I'm sure you understand. So were you yourself ever choked by the defendant?
No.
All right, so now I have a separate question. Did the defendant ever bring up to you, did he tell you that he wanted to choke you during sex?
No.
Did the defendant ever say that he wanted to choke anyone during sex?
No.
Judge, do you have the ability to mark?
I think that, ask Mrs. Hannaman to come in.
You see, there is a sticker that's available here.
Keep your hands off the sticker, please. All right. We're very stingy with
that was a maybe, Judge?
We're sticky with our we're stingy with our stickers. I think she's just right around the corner. So.
Brandon, do you remember giving a written statement to officers back on September 27, 2017?
Yes.
So that was about 8 or 9 months after you and the defendant had your relationship, is that right?
Yes.
And did you have a chance to read that statement at some time?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 59. And I just want you to tell me, does that look like a copy of the statement that you made with the officer back on September 27, 2017?
Yes.
Okay, and did you sign that statement?
I did.
Your signature's on there?
Yes.
And that is your signature? You recognize it?
Yes.
All right. And when you signed the statement, did you also write your name and write a line across?
Yes.
That's you who wrote that?
Yes.
And when you signed the statement, were you saying that the statement was a true and accurate account of what you had said to the officer?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to turn your attention again to that exhibit. In this line here that's in between the typing, does it say that you, the person who signed it, is saying it's a true statement?
Yes.
Okay. So you told me a little earlier that the defendant had never spoken to you about wanting to choke anybody during sex. Is that right?
Right.
Did you say in the written statement, Danny Tate did talk about how he would like to choke, bite, and scratch a woman while he was having sex with a woman? Did you say that?
I did. I forgot.
You see that in the statement?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I read it correctly?
Yes.
Okay. Is that true and you just forgot today? Or is that statement wrong?
No, it's true, but I forgot.
Okay. So he did talk to you about that at some point?
Yes.
I have nothing else.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Ms. Rantanen, Mr. Gravely gave you a copy of your written statement to take a look at, right?
Yes.
You testified previously that Mr. Tate had never at any point choked you, correct?
Correct.
Is that consistent with your written statement?
Yes.
And so there was never anything that was done to you, it was only just a discussion that Mr. Tate had with you, correct?
Yes.
Those are all of my questions.
Question.
Nothing on those.
You may step down.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Your Honor, I just want the parties to approach the court and just let you know what we have left in terms of scheduling, just so the court is aware of that.
All right.
Judge, I apologize. We forgot to have a conference regarding any record. So that was...
Talk with Mr.
Sure. Yeah.
Johnson and
So
Ms.
should he approach?
Come up here, sir? And see what, and you can tell me what you come up with. Please remain. Yeah, would you administer the oath, please? Thank you.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated.
Judge, we've reached a stipulation as to the number. Should we just proceed, or does the court want us to talk about that to you?
If you're in agreement with, you just acquaint the witness with the situation.
So I'm going to approach him, speak to him privately if there's a minute.
All right.
I have permission to do that. Behind you here.
Is that accurate? Is that accurate? Yes. Okay.
Mr. Crom, can you state your first and last name, please?
Andrew Crum,
And can you spell Andrew?
Andrew
And how do I spell Crom?
Kromm,
Mr. Crom, how old are you?
18.
And do you know a person whose name is Daniel Tate Jr.?
Yes, I do.
Is that person here in the courtroom?
Yes, he is.
Can you indicate where that person is in the courtroom and say what that person is wearing today?
It's dress up, and it looks like it's black and. Excuse me. It looks like it's black and white stripes.
Indicating the accused.
Mr. Crom, when's the last time you how long ago is the last time you remember seeing the defendant in person?
It's been a while. It's probably been about, I want to say high school, maybe 6th or 7th, or actually it was either middle school or high school.
And I don't want the details, but can you say whether you and the defendant have gotten along over the years?
No, we haven't.
And Mr. Crom, in the year 2017, in July of 2017, did you ever see the defendant personally anywhere?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. On August 3rd, 2017, did an officer come to your house to ask you some questions?
Yes.
And do you remember, in general, where were you living at that time? I don't need the exact address, but in general.
By George's Club, Highview.
Okay. And when the officer got there, did you know that officer was going to come to your house?
No, I did not.
So it surprised you?
Well, I had got the yellow stickers on my door for, it was the yellow papers for, I think it was the subpoenas, or I'm not sure.
Okay. So did you have any idea what anybody was wanting to talk to you about?
No, not really. Not until I got brought downtown.
When you got brought downtown, did the officer bring you down to the police station?
Yes.
And were you asked about where you had been on July 23rd, 2017 and July 24th, 2017?
Yes.
Were you told that that was a Sunday night and then into a Monday morning?
Yes.
And were you able to tell the officer who was talking to you where you had been that Sunday night, so July 23rd, into Monday morning, July 24th?
Yes.
And were you able to tell him that right away?
Mm-hmm.
And where did you say...
Please answer yes or no.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, where did you say you had been on July 23rd with that officer?
I was in Chicago in Wilmot with my grandpa working.
Okay, so the night of the 23rd, before you went to Wilmot, where were you?
I was at my grandparents' house, staying the night for work in the morning.
And so why were you spending the night at their house to go to if the work was in the morning on Monday?
Because that's how it usually happens when we work. I stay the night so then I'm able to get up in the morning to help them.
And what is your grandpa's name?
Dave Duggar.
And did you provide the officer the way to contact your grandpa?
Yes, I did.
And from the moment that you found out that you were being asked about where you'd been on July 23rd and July 24th, to the moment that you were released, did you ever have a chance to talk to your grandfather personally before they talked to him?
No.
Did you ever have a chance to text him or in any way get in touch with your grandpa who wasn't in person?
No.
Did you know a person named Olivia McKay?
No.
When they told you that this was about a murder of Olivia McKay, did you have any knowledge whatsoever about this case?
No, just stuff that I've seen on Facebook. But that was after.
After you were talked to?
Yeah.
I have nothing further.
Question?
I apologize. I have one more. Mr. Crom, as a juvenile, were you ever adjudicated delinquent of a crime?
Yes.
And how many times?
4.
Nothing else.
Defense?
Mr. Crom, on July 23rd, you were dropped off at your grandparents' house by your girlfriend, Brittany Larson. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you ever provide the police with any type of documentation from the job that you went to with your grandfather?
No, I don't believe so, but I'm pretty sure that he has that on record.
the police didn't ask you for that?
No.
Thank you.
Any question?
Nothing.
You may step down, sir.
Okay.
State calls David Duggar to the stand. Mr. Crum, you're free to go.
You solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this matter will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Please be seated.
Mr. Duggar, can you state your first and last name, please?
David Duggar,
And how do I spell David?
D-A-V-I-D,
How do I spell Duggar?
D-U-G-G-E-R,
Mr. Duggar, how old are you today?
66.
And are you still working?
Yes, sir.
What do you do for a living?
Heating and air conditioning.
And are you employed by a particular person, or are you out on your own?
I'm self-employed.
Do you have anybody help you with that business?
My wife and occasional Andrew and other people.
And who's Andrew?
Andrew Crom's my grandson.
And is he the person who just left the courtroom before you?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Duggar, do you remember getting a phone call from a person who said he was a police officer back on August 3rd, 2017, asking you about where your grandson had been, meaning where Andrew Crom had been?
Yes, sir.
And did he ask you specifically about the date of July 23rd, 17, which was a Sunday night, into the next Monday, July 24th, 2017?
Yes, sir.
When you received that call, did you have any idea that the police were interested in where Andrew Crom had been on the 23rd or 24th? Before they talked to you, did you know anything about anybody wondering about where he had been?
No, sir.
So when the officer called you, had you had any opportunity to talk to Andrew Crom in any way, so in person, over the phone, or a text, were you in any way aware he was talking to the police?
No, sir.
When you were asked where your grandson Andrew Crom was on July 23rd in the evening hours, so Sunday night, were you able to tell him?
Yes, sir.
And where did you tell the detective that your grandson was on the night of the 23rd of July?
He spent the night in our house.
And where is that house?
It's in Pleasant Prairie.
How long have you lived there?
15 years.
And were you able to tell the detective where Andrew was on the morning hours of July 24th, 2017?
Yes, he worked with me in Wilmette, Illinois.
And what kind of job were you doing in general?
Putting a heating and air conditioning system in.
So, Mr. Duggar, why, if the job wasn't until Monday, would Andrew have been at your house the night before?
So I didn't have to pick him up in the morning, early in the morning. We go direct to the job.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examine.
No questions.
You may step down, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, pursuant to our conversation off the record, I believe that this is a logical time for the court to break for lunch. The state only has a few more witnesses. One of them cannot be here until 2, just so the court knows, but that will be our concluding witness. So in terms of our presentation, but we do have a witness who's not able, based on work and transportation, to get here until 2.
All right. Let's break at this point, folks, until 1.
We have another witness we can do first.
Right, and is that the lengthier one?
Yes.
All right, let me ask that you return at 1 o'clock. And in the meantime, please don't talk about the case with anyone. Read, watch, or listen to any account of the trial. And any questions? 1 o'clock work for everybody? Okay, great. Well, if you see you then, thank you. Bailiff, where are we? Oh, here. Why don't jurors, when you're excused, there anyone who intends to stay in during the break? Okay. All of the jurors need to be out of the building or in the jury room by 20 minutes to 12. After that time, there's to be no one in the hallway until 10 to 1. Does that make sense? Okay, thank you. No, they can go now.
They have to be gone by then.
Myself. They need to be out of the building or in the jury room by 20 minutes to 12, and not to return to the hallway until 10 minutes to 1.